Thanks for joining us once again. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Today's focus is the fact that the folks at GM, including Bob Lutz and Mary Barra, the current CEO, are showing signs of Tesla/EV confusion. So we wanted to review this and look at some of the implications of it going forward, particularly Tesla getting huge market share thanks to GM in the process. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. We also want to thank our Patreon supporters. If you enjoy the show or like some better ideas on investing and trading with Tesla and others, please join us. So today we're kind of starting off with a little bit of discussion of Tesla and investing. As you know, it was my prediction post-earnings we'd see a downdraft in that 30-40 point range and then start seeing an updraft afterwards after some cooler heads prevailed in terms of evaluating Tesla. I'm kind of sticking with what I'm saying. Instead of us in the obviously 300 zone, we're smelling 270s over the next week. The big problem that popped up is that the folks that really decide what the large institutions end up doing is actually the analysts. And when 70%-ish of the analysts that cover the company all come out with downgrades, even if it isn't a severe downgrade, it's still hard for any stock to recover from that. And clearly, some of Tesla's challenges have affected what's going on here. So I actually think right now is a great buying time for the company, particularly as we're starting to stockpile the Cybertruck, anticipating deliveries, and then the order numbers are starting to rise. So very interesting sort of what's going on with Tesla growth relative to this. And then obviously you have megapacks, you have roofs. There's a bunch of different growth opportunities for Tesla that execution will result in sort of a more lucrative circumstance for Tesla. So let's get to the confusion part. So we could go through countless numbers of GM confusions. The first one is, a lot of you are bugging me with Bob Lutz about the fact that the guy's clueless, has no impact. What you may recall is about 4 years ago, 3.5 years now, Bob Lutz suggested, hey, GM could easily defeat Tesla. All you have to do is put a big battery inside of a Hummer and everything's great. People will buy it, and GM sort of beats Tesla in that space. Well, as you may recall, what they found over the past 8 months was that in year one, they sold one copy. So basically that one truck was, call it $300 million if you look at the development costs of that vehicle. So what that suggests is that it's an easy way to blow out Tesla, by just throwing a big battery out there with some range, and you're fine. There's a lot more to the understanding and marketing and delivery of a great vehicle in the EV space, and clearly Tesla's been doing that. The second confusion that's been so for those of you who wonder, why are you Bob Lutz interested? Well, please recall, Bob Lutz was the one that developed the Bolt. And so that car was under development for a good 8 or 9 years, starting with his work with the battery technology that his engineers had done prior to the delivery of the vehicle. So it's, clearly almost a 20-year-old vehicle in its preparation to come to market. Now, so bottom line is that even though Lutz is no longer there, his thought process is still lurking within the halls of GM. And the follow-on would be that, guess what? GM decided to get rid of the Bolt. What Bob Lutz indicated is that when they developed the Bolt, the goal of the vehicle was very simply to target the tree hugger people who couldn't afford a luxury vehicle in the form of an EV because the battery was too expensive. The market was just non-existent and therefore not really worth putting a really nice, well-appointed EV out there that people might like. So therefore the Bolt came out. Very short wheelbase, one of the shortest out there, But until the battery fires happened, they were selling fairly well, and Tesla was somewhat challenged by the low prices associated with this bolt, even though we're still in that early 200s range on that battery. So the next thing, so the bottom line is that, and the reason I say we have confusion from GM is, as you may recall, GM ended or announced the ending of the bolt back in April. What then happened is that within the last 4 or 5 business days, GM has announced that they're bringing the bolt back. So this is what I call confusion. For companies with as many great engineers, as many great consultants working for them, etc., you'd expect them to be able to sort of define what they're going to do and stick to it in ways smaller companies or theoretically less disorganized companies would not be able to stick to what they've stated. You know, one other enjoyable note or interesting note on this is you may recall that Ms. Barra indicated that it was a plan of GM to eclipse Tesla by 2025. Well, it's hard to eclipse a company when you have almost no products on the market for people to buy. Now, we could continue on the confusion run, but let's just add one more little log to the fire. As you may recall, GM announced that they would be sharing Tesla's charging network and would therefore save $400 million in the process. GM then announced this past week that with a group of another 6 automakers, they would be building a new charging network that would provide competition for Tesla. So the $400 million that they weren't going to spend, they've got to put out a certain amount of money to be a part of this new charging network. But, they obviously are a bit confused about exactly what are you guys going to do. And if you're that confused, is that realistic for it to be completed quickly and allow consumers to get comfortable and confident with the solutions that you're providing? So the answer is that is not happening. So what I wanted to articulate today is that there are a lot of GM strategies that have been put out. I keep going back to the list, but according to Bob Lutz 4 years ago, by this year, there's supposed to be 100 different models that would be in the marketplace that would provide competition to Tesla. And in theory, there are probably 30 different vehicles from multiple manufacturers that are out there in any numbers. But the challenge is that there have been all kinds of problems with these vehicles. In particular, consumers want fast charging. Not all those vehicles can do that. There's a lot of elements of what consumers wanted, and those companies knew it and knew they could not deliver. And so therefore, they've had to delay those product offerings, allowing Tesla to get more comfortable in the market as the dominant player. So in general, what I wanted to suggest is that, yes, GM and others will produce vehicles that come out. No, they're not superior in all of the ways in which customers need servicing, that is charging, that is fast charging, that is footprint across the United States that facilitates success for those companies and a quality solution for their customers. So I'm no longer surprised, because it's a stunner when you hear of vaporware or announced products and services that are not arriving from companies that have huge amounts of money and a lot of people around that can help deliver a solution that you've claimed you're going to deliver. So the final thing that I wanted to take a quick look at is, well, why might GM have chosen to deliver the Bolt, cancel it, and then bring it back? I believe the answer to that is software. So it turns out that both Ford and VW have had problems with their delivery of the software side, because 60% of the cost of software is the development and 40% of it is the debugging. So I believe GM has run into a problem with the software that runs its very nice looking SUVs that are mid-sized, that would really fit the marketplace. But you really can't put it out until you're somewhat bug-free, because customers don't like buggy vehicles that break down all the time. And if you go back to the Bolt, you can make some cosmetic changes to the skin and then deliver a vehicle that is pretty stable when it comes to the software. So you can have a product in the marketplace that works pretty well for a lot of people, even if it doesn't fit the size and other form factors that people really, really want to see. And so that's my belief in terms of what the problem is. But regardless of what the case is, it's really expensive to do things in business. And so having people moving down the path one way and then keep switching all the time costs money and time. But I believe it really illustrates the fact that you're confused. And I still think that's where we are currently. So we look forward to the next iteration of the GM confusion on their electric vehicles and Bob Lutz announcements of how great GM is at everything they do and that they have great engineers, and that those great engineers are going to deliver solutions that are products and services that customers definitely want to see. Now, we want to break off a segment here today to kind of discuss Tesla investing. Again, as we talked about at the beginning, I believe we're in a really, really, really great buying point for Tesla, because as soon as we start getting scale numbers for the Cybertruck, I think the stock gets a nice boost in the process. And so I think I'm holding my breath, holding my fingers for this to be delivered so that we can really get rolling once again on Tesla's stock price increase. I'd have to say the biggest surprise I saw in that regard this week was just the fact that we have some confirmed numbers, probably definitely 2 million. I've heard of heading above 2 million in terms of the order volume for the Cybertruck, but it just seems like demand keeps rising on that vehicle, so we need to start seeing some deliveries so we can get after it. Any rate, just a quick note, don't forget our health tips, your 25 leg lifts a day as well as a 20-minute walk, and prior to lovemaking, don't forget light salad provides blood flow to your other extremities if it's not going to your stomach. At any rate, this is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks once again for joining us. Tschüss, au revoir, lehitro, chodafez, здравствуйте, ni hao ma, namaste, arrivederci. And in Jamaica, we say enough respect, walk good man. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day, and bye for now.